The latest findings: former CIA Deputy Chief of the Soviet Bloc Division, Tennent Bagley, wrote a letter to Robert Blakey, Chief Counsel of the House Special Committee on Assassinations, in 1978, in which he identified several errors in CIA Representative John Harts' testimony. His testimony regarded information on Oswald's time in the Soviet Union. One document reveals that a man named Henry Gourley of Vancouver called Bellingham, Washington, police the day after Kennedy's assassination, saying he had overheard three men at a hotel 3 weeks prior saying if Kennedy traveled to Dallas, he would never leave there alive. The men were traveling to Cuba. A man named Robert C. Rawls told a Secret Service agent that he heard a man bet $100 that Kennedy would be dead within 3 weeks while at a bar in New Orleans. Documents provide payment ledgers to Cuban exile groups working to overthrow Castro. The document also shows that the first attempt to kill Castro was in 1959. Another document shows a connection between Kennedy and Nixon. A man arrested trying to break into the DNC headquarters at Watergate attempted overthrowing Castro years earlier. The Secret Service had a 413-page document detailing everyone they suspected for killing the president, listing why they may have been mad at Kennedy and their threat level. Per the AP, FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover sent out a memo saying he and an FBI deputy were concerned about having something issued so we can convince the public that Oswald is the real assassin. The KGB alleged to have information indicating that President Johnson played a part in Kennedy's assassination. The CIA offered the mob $150,000 to kill Fidel Castro, but the mob insisted on doing it for free, according to a 1975 document. 25 minutes before JFK was shot, a British newspaper received an anonymous call in which they were told to call the American embassy for some big news, according to the AP. In one document, then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover confronts the spreading conspiracy theories, writing, "There is nothing further on the Oswald case except that he is dead." President Lyndon B. Johnson thought that JFK's assassination was payback for the assassination of Vietnam President Diem, according to a 1975 deposition by then CIA Director Richard Helms. Another file describes the Soviet Union's reaction, according to a source who said the news was received with great shock and consternation and church bells were tolled in the memory of President Kennedy. The FBI was carefully tracking Oswald's movements when he was in Mexico City a few weeks before shooting JFK, according to a 1964 cablegram. One memo suggests Oswald spoke with a KGB officer in broken Russian while in Mexico City. A day before Oswald was murdered, the FBI received a phone call from someone threatening to kill Oswald. An FBI report alleges that President Lyndon B. Johnson was a member of the KKK based on an informant's claim to have documented proof, which was not included. According to BBC, the CIA had thought about sabotaging parts for planes headed to Cuba from Canada and considered assassinating Cuban President Fidel Castro by hiring mafia leaders, according to CNN. The files include memos about communist sympathizers, according to ABC News. So far, there haven't been any bombshells for the conspiracy theorists. But wait, there's more. It will most likely take weeks for researchers to go through the thousands of documents, and the remaining 300 documents won't be released and will most likely be redacted until April of next year due to national security concerns. President Trump tweeted this morning, "JFK files are being carefully released. In the end there will be great transparency. It is my hope to get just about everything to public. See for yourself here. This piece will be updated. See something interesting to add? Email staff@axios.com or news@axios.com. A Washington, D.C. federal grand jury has approved the first charges in the investigation by special counsel Robert Mueller, CNN reports. Why it matters: NBC confirmed that the Office of the Special Counsel will serve up an indictment Monday in connection with the Russia investigation. It will be the first public disclosure of the results of Mueller's investigation. The Newtown Police Department was notified of Adam Lanza's intentions to kill students at Sandy Hook Elementary School 4 years before Lanza killed 20 children, according to the New York Daily News. Why it matters: the Daily News reports that a man told NPD of Lanza's plans, but the police said they couldn't do anything, given Lanza's mother Nancy Lanza legally purchased the guns. The FBI said Lanza engaged in careful, methodical planning and preparation when he killed his mother, 6 Sandy Hook staff members, 20 children, and finally, himself. That deft distillation is from the LA Times' Matt Pierce, who writes on A1. The files, which include secret FBI memos, handwritten notes from top White House officials, and CIA field reports, tell the story of America's paranoid underworld in the 1960s, where shadowy figures chased secrets at home and abroad and hatched plots to change the course of history. The newly released records shine a light on America's covert operations at a time when America was deeply suspicious of its Cold War adversaries, combating Soviet influence around the globe and engaging in disastrous attempts to overthrow communist revolutionaries in Cuba. Go deeper. What we know from the JFK Files, by Axios' Steph Kite and Haley Britsky. The NY Times' Adam Bryant has interviewed 525 chief executives through his years writing the corner office column. Here's what he has learned. They share a habit of mind that is best described as applied curiosity. They tend to question everything. They want to know how things work, and wonder how they can be made to work better. They're curious about people and their backstories. CEOs seem to love a challenge. Discomfort is their comfort zone. They focus on doing their current job well, and that earns them promotions. Many people can seem more concerned about the job they want than the job they're doing. Worthy of your time. NY Times' David Brooks. The week Trump won 100 years ago on Friday, John Reed was in St. Petersburg watching Lenin, Trotsky and the rest of the Bolsheviks take over Russia. It was interesting to read his account, 10 days that shook the world. This week, the week when Donald Trump and Steve Bannon solidified their grip on the Republican Party and America's national government. The Republican senators greeted Trump on Capitol Hill and saw a president so repetitive and rambling, some thought he might be suffering from early Alzheimer's. But they know which way the wind is blowing. They gave him a standing ovation. Why it matters. This is like 1917, a clash of political, moral, economic and social ideologies all rolled into one. Defense Secretary Jim Mattis said today in South Korea that the threat of nuclear missile attack by North Korea is accelerating. AP's Bob Burns reports from Seoul with South Korean Defense Minister Song Young-moo at his side. Mattis said North Korea engages in outlaw behavior and that the U.S. will never accept a nuclear Mattis. North Korea has accelerated the threat that it poses to its neighbors and the world. I cannot imagine a condition under which the United States would accept North Korea as a nuclear power. More Mattis. Any use of nuclear weapons by the North will be met with a massive military response that is effective and overwhelming. 9 months into Trump's presidency, the poll reveals a starkly pessimistic view of U.S. politics, widespread distrust of the nation's political leaders and their ability to compromise, and an erosion of pride in the way democracy works in America. Why it matters. 7 in 10 Americans say the nation's politics have reached a dangerous low point, and a majority of those believe the situation is a new normal rather than temporary. This is big. Americans are feeling frustrated not only with the country's politics but their ability to talk about politics in a civil way. Go deeper. Why it matters. From MSNBC's Ari Melber. We're moving away from a political fight, where everyone can see it the way they want, and into a legal process, where there are rules of evidence, facts are established. Bob Mueller is known to be a pretty careful prosecutor. Be smart. Matt Miller, former Obama Justice Department official, and close Mueller watcher, emails me. I think it means this will be a rolling investigation. Rather than conduct his entire investigation and then wrap things up with indictments and possibly a report at the end, he is doing it in stages, the way the Justice Department might attack a drug cartel or a mafia family. Miller adds that this is a watershed moment for the politics surrounding the investigation. In less than 6 months on the job, Mueller has already returned indictments. This isn't a fishing expedition or a witch hunt. It's an investigation that's already borne fruit, with a grand jury of regular Americans finding probable cause that a crime was committed.